How are you? Thank you so much for doing this with me. I
Of
super duper appreciate it.
course.
I was
And
looking at
thank
our Insta because I remember like connecting with you years ago on DM, which is like, one of the amazing things about social is just like being able to connect with people. And then like you were having like a conference thing, right? In
yes,
Boston.
yes,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
And then fast forward now you're like doing this with me and Revolve. So thank you so
I
much.
Oh my gosh, no. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
No, I know. It's been such a like watching you, of course, from afar, and then now sitting with you is like honestly, I'm such a huge fan. And I was texting with
Oh,
my sister this morning, my little sister. She was just like, "Please tell her I'm such a big fan."
oh, thank you. So
So yeah,
sweet.
thank you so much. So
Of
I've been
course.
wanting to ask you since like I obviously found out about you and who you are. Like, how does it feel to be a winner? Like a literal winner. Like you have like a freaking like medals like from the Olympic.
It's kind of crazy, because I think it's like not part of my everyday life, now. And so it's like it's not really like I think about it every single day. But when I do take a second and like look back, I'm like, whoa, like that's kind of cool,
I
because it
mean,
feels like it's like such a different lifetime ago, and so much has happened since, I guess. So it's
yeah.
like, yeah, but I think that moment itself was just, the moments that you have where you feel like, and I'm sure you've had, moments like this throughout your career, but you're
I
just
don't
like,
think so.
well,
But yeah,
okay, well, when you think it's like not real and it's just
right.
like, it's so amazing, or whatever. And it's like, you like want to pinch yourself and wake up one day, and like think like, oh, that was just a dream, but it's not. So I think like,
That's so cool. And it's so like I always have such a huge admiration for athletes because obviously like I have no athletic capabilities whatsoever. And so like the dedication and commitment I think is always so it's literally so inspirational and like for especially like gymnasts like yourself, like you really have been doing it what feels like your whole life, And so it's just so incredible to like when you're like, oh, you've had these moments in your life. I'm like, no, I haven't. Nasty,
but
I
okay,
have
but
not.
that, but that's the thing. It's like, yes, maybe that was like at a different, on a different level, maybe, I don't know. But I think it's like you can still relate it to moments in your life where you feel like you've been working on a project, or, a launch, or like something for so long, or just the
Right.
amount of hours and the commitment that you put into it. And then when it finally happens, like there's just that sense of like accomplishment and like pride, and just being like proud. And I think like that's what I'm also learning now, like being in different chapters of my life, of like taking a second and actually feeling proud of yourself, right?
For
And like the
sure.
work that you put in it, and like the obstacles that you have to go through. And I feel like it's like even those obstacles that make it that much more worth it in the
For
end when
sure.
you are successful.
Yeah, and I think you like hit it right on the head there in terms of, taking those moments to just like look back. I guess yeah, in some ways that struck a chord with me because, we're moving so fast all the time and always on to the next and trying to figure out, what else, what's next. And
Yeah,
we don't even take I know I'm trying to do it now maybe because of, COVID and being at home,
right.
like trying to take that moment to be like, okay, wow, like, you're good, like you did a lot, or you've done a lot, but yeah, I have.
It's like I feel like, it's this like fine line of, just as humans, we're always wanting more, right? And like, and
Yes.
especially having success in something or in one thing, like you're like, okay, great, but now I want, the next thing, and like bigger and better. And like you're constantly wanting to be bigger and better. And while that's like an amazing quality and a trait to have, I think it's also, as you were kind of saying, like I think COVID has really helped, at least me, like be a little bit more present, and like just be in the moment, and like be proud of whether it's like
Whatever.
something very, very small, or like something huge, And I think
Yeah.
I've not been great at that, I think, my whole life, of just like it's almost like a checklist, right? Like you're just like, you achieve one, okay, on to the next. And so I think
Really?
taking a second and being present and being in the moment, the many things I feel like we've probably all learned during this pandemic, but that's definitely been one of them.
Yeah, which is also like, one thing that's been so interesting about you is, making the leap from being obviously a professional gymnast, and no pun intended, into fashion, and having this full-fledged blog that you're very, very active on, and really sharing your lifestyle. Like, how did that come about? And like, were you always into fashion? Also, we should probably take a moment at some point to talk through the outfits.
Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
like how did that like happen, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, very, very different, but still fashion related. So ever since I was 12, my mom and we designed all my own gymnastics leotards, like every single one I
Oh,
competed in. So
cool.
that was kind of like my outlet for like stress, right? So like, in like, some people write music or poems or paint or draw or write in their journal, whatever they do. And for us, like, we just love sketching leotards and coming up with like, and trying to be different and unique, and like, they were fails. Yeah, I look back and I'm like, whoa.
Like,
um
what was I thinking? That's so
what
cool.
was
You guys just
but also
like that's
but
amazing.
yeah, so I was just always into that, I guess. And then right after the Olympics, I went to my first fashion week. It was 2008. It was still at Bryant Park, and it was like, that to me, it was like the coolest like, I was just like, wow. And I felt like I could relate a little bit like to these designers, because they had been working like all year, all season, for this moment, right? And it's like the lights go down, and like I'm like, I was like nervous for them, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel
So
like it's their
cool.
Olympics. So
Yeah.
I definitely had more of an appreciation, I think, attending my first fashion week then. And yeah, I guess
Remember
I've
what your
just
first show was? Or maybe your first
um
show from 2000.
my first one was Peter Som, and
Awesome.
yeah, and I went. Maria Sharapova was one of my idols and like my
I
biggest
mean,
inspirations, and she invited me to go with her, and I was just like, what?
you're
um,
like, yes. I mean,
I'm like,
you're like, the Russians are invading Fashion Week.
yeah,
Let's go.
yes, it
Love
was
this.
amazing. Yeah. I wore this like gold-ish dress that he picked out for me because I
You
had
know, I'm
just
gonna have to
won
like
the
Google this
Olympics.
after.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's great.
I have to like see what you were wearing. This is so
Yeah.
cool.
And I was so like kind of awkward because like I had never been to, like you don't know what it is too if you don't go or like
Of
see
course.
anything about it. I'm like, oh wait, it's over.
Yeah,
It's like
and
it
it's
happened
so
so fast.
fast. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. It
it's all
happens.
about like the getting ready and like, all the pre and stuff. But yeah, I think I just like truly admired the hard work that goes into a collection. And then it's like, the reviews and the press and like all of that after, it's like you're being scored like the Olympics. So it was just like, there are a lot of parallels I felt.
That's so amazing. And of course, I've never heard it like said that way, and it's so awesome to hear it from, again, a professional athlete like yourself that trains and is so committed. And you do have like the 2 or 3 minutes to like show your whole entire work. So
Literally, and you're
cool.
just like crossing your finger. And it's also similar to gymnastics. Fashion, it's subjective, right? So it's like someone could love it and someone could hate it. And it's like that's out of your control.
I
And you
know.
just like go out there and cross your fingers and hope everybody loves it and hope like very similar to gymnastics. Obviously, we're scored, but the judging is subjective. We're not racing against a clock. It's not who jumps the highest or runs the fastest. It's very, very much subjective. So yeah, so I felt like it was just very, very similar. But I think the transition, um, going for the first time, I just like started developing more of a passion for it, and then I had like the opportunity to wear more than just a leotard and sweatpants and leggings and athleisure. So yeah, so I feel like that's kind of when I like really started liking fashion, I guess.
And when did you launch your like blog officially?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I mean, so it was definitely, so I retired in 2012. So, and then I moved to New York and I went to NYU.
Oh,
Um,
cool. And what
yeah,
did
which was like, I studied sports management. And not that I like wanted to be an agent, but I just felt like it was such a huge part of my life and still is. And I wanted to just be a little bit more hands-on with my own career. So, you know, not just like, I mean, I have an amazing and incredible team, but and I trust them fully, but I think it was just, you know, I just wanted to be more like invested in my own career and know what was going on. Yeah.
I
So,
really understand. That's so cool.
yeah, so that was the most amazing experience. And I felt like New York also, it was the perfect transition because I felt like for my whole life up until that, like gymnastics defined who I was. Like I was just, to myself and to others, like I was just a gymnast, you know, and I didn't have an identity outside of that. And so
Right.
it was kind of scary, you know, it's like, it felt like, even though it was on my own terms, but it felt like something was taken away from me. And that something was all that I knew. You know, I didn't know who I was without this sport in my life. I didn't know what my passions were. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And
But you're also so young, you know?
which was like crazy also because in my early 20s, in my mind, I'm like, I have achieved my quote unquote lifelong dream. Now what, you know, like,
What do you do? What are you supposed to
yeah,
do?
like this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do, which that's not true. But like in my mind, I thought that, you know, at
Because you
18.
were, oh yeah, I was gonna ask, I was thinking if you were 16 or 17, but you were 18.
Yeah, so I was older. I was old.
Oh my God,
Which
you're
is
so
so
old.
crazy. It's so
That's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah. And so at 18, you achieve a quote unquote lifelong dream. And you're like, I remember standing there with like a gold medal around my neck and having these mixed emotions of like being so excited and so proud, yet being so afraid because it was like, whoa, now it's over, you know, like
Wow.
everything that I've been working for essentially my entire life is now, it's done. Now what, you know, like it
Yeah.
was like this
What's your
fear
purpose
of
now?
what's my purpose in life now? Like I've already achieved what I thought it was. And, you know,
Oh my
obviously since then, I know that that is not my purpose in life. But yeah, it was definitely this, a little bit of a scary transition. I feel like New York was just like the perfect place diving into being a full-time student. And just like meeting different people, different walks of life. And but it was scary. Like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to make friends outside of athletes and
Yeah.
just
I
be
mean,
you know, normal.
yeah, absolutely. And I think even, I mean, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that. I think as a, you know, I'm 38 years old and I'm constantly still trying to figure out my purpose in life.
Same.
I'm always just, I mean, I really, I just like, it was just my birthday last month and I'm, you know, and maybe I think that's a good thing, you know, trying to figure out like, again, like, is there more and can I do more for, obviously beyond myself, but I couldn't imagine being 18. Like, truthfully, I know those things didn't even cross my mind. So for you to be able to, one, have those thoughts, and then two, to really figure out from there as such a young person, this, you know, path to your next, you know, this, you know, your next, which
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
really get into fashion. And I know you have a charity, which I think is so cool what you did during COVID. I'll get into it in a second.
Thank you.
How did you, I guess, like deal with all of that? And how did you, from NYU studying sports management, again, dive into, you know what, I'm just going to, you know, be basically this full-fledged influencer? I mean, that's what you are. You have such a massive following as well.
Yeah, you know, I think, well, the moment that I had right before I retired, so I tried to make my second Olympic team in 2012. So that year, I was going in as the reigning Olympic gold medalist. So, you know, I had a lot more pressure and a lot
Like
more
no pressure.
expectation. Yeah, like
You have to nail
no, no,
everything.
no big deal, but like you're expected to be the best, you know,
Yeah,
when you're the
exactly.
best. Um, and so on my very best event, bars, I fell like literally flat on my face. And I
Yes, I
remember,
was like looking, I was scrolling down your feed just to like,
oh yeah, I
one, I
posted
was
it
like checking out
recently.
your outfits because I saw like you're always, again, so much to talk about, but you're always in such great bikinis. But it's so, I was gonna say, like, I love that you posted that meme of yourself, or like that video of just being like, this is like COVID, or like this is 2020.
Yeah, I'm like 2020
Yeah, but
when
it's so
2020 hits
awesome.
you hard.
Totally.
Um,
That you can like, you know, make light of the situation now, but that's insane. PS.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm just putting him down here. So I just had this moment like laying there and being like, what am I doing? First of all, on my face, what am I doing down here? I'm supposed to be finishing my routine. Then immediately being like embarrassed. I just fell on my face. And then thinking like, definitely not making the Olympic team. My dreams are over for, you know, for this dream at least. And so I remember then thinking, okay, you have two choices, right? Like you can just be done and walk away and like, you can say you're, you know, injured or whatever, which I wasn't, or you can get back up and finish. You know, my parents always taught me, no matter what, you have to finish what you've started. And so that to me was the most important thing. Like I didn't care what the outcome at that point was going to be because it was already like quote unquote over. But I got back up, finished my routine, landed on my feet. And for the very first time in my entire life and career, I had a standing ovation for the worst routine of my entire life. And so I remember just being like, I was looking around the arena thinking like, who else just went on a different event that had like the best routine of their life? And like, I'm like, it's definitely not me. Like I saw on my face, like no one should even be like clapping for me. And no one else was going. I was the last person to go. And so I'm looking around, 20,000 people are on their feet. And I'm like, what? I'm confused in the moment. And then what I quickly just like realized in that moment, because up until that moment, I truly felt like we were as humans just defined by our successes, right? Like I thought people were only going to cheer me on or love me if I was the best, if I won a gold medal. And what I realized in that moment was me falling on my face and people still loving me and supporting me and cheering me on truly meant that we will never be defined by our successes, a gold medal, a placement, a salary, a job title, a relationship, any of those things. Like that's not what defines us. And so
oh my gosh,
that moment for me was like, I just learned so much more literally falling on my face than I did winning an Olympic gold medal, you know, just, yeah, it just like.
But what a powerful, again, what a powerful lesson to learn at such a young age that you can really, you know, people are still figuring that out as you get older of like everything you just said, like my job, my title, my salary, how much I'm worth, what I have to show on social media, are just, it's not that important. And so
absolutely,
that's so amazing that you, well, I need to first watch this video because I only saw the clip. Everyone clapping for you. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think after that happened, I just kind of like slowly started having this newfound like purpose of life. Not that I knew what it was yet. And like, as we kind of said, still trying to figure it out, but it was, at least I knew that I wasn't going to be defined by anything that I did. And it was just,
or didn't do, I guess.
Or didn't do. Yeah. Like, yeah, exactly. And so, and I feel like that's kind of like what I, you know, my mission and my goal, and is just like always trying to help our future, this next generation of young girls and women who feel the opposite, who feel that they are going to be defined by, and especially in a world of social media, you know, it's like, it's hard. Like I didn't grow up having Instagram, you know, I was, and I'm still, I mean, I'm 30 and it still affects me, you know, it's like, I'm sure you get the messages and the comments and the hatred sometimes. Like I really try to have thicker skin and whatever, but at the end of the day, we're all humans and we all have a heart, and it's like, it affects you, you know, it's just like seeing something rude is never like, oh my God, yay. So I always try to like share that with young girls of like, and what you see on Instagram is a highlight reel, basically, you know, it's like, you don't wake up like, you know, well, back to the days like TBT of when we had hair and makeup and had events to go to.
Like, no, we're just waking up like
I'm
that.
like, yeah, I'm like, what you see is what you get now. But yeah, I'm like, that's not really the reality of my everyday life, you know? And it's like, and you also, or like winning an Olympic gold medal, like you don't see, you know, we train 7 hours a day, 6 days a week, the injuries, the obstacles, the tears, like the days you wanted to give up, like all of those things. You just see this like fairy tale moment that when it all came together, you know, and you had the best competition of your life and you win an Olympic gold medal. And So not to like take away from those great moments that we have in our lives, but you just like have to think back and like, you know, like how does a brand or a company become so successful? It's not overnight success. You know, it's the years and the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it to become successful. So
no one definitely sees all of that, but
no, you don't. Yeah.
that's so incredible. I mean, so I guess from taking all of that and learn all the things that you've learned as a gymnast and, you know, again, getting into fashion, being a full-fledged influencer and also a philanthropist in some ways. I mean, I was again reading with, you know, donating $100,000 to the local gyms. I think congratulations. That's so incredible.
Thank you.
But I also wanted to ask about the Nastia Liukin Cup that you started.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for that? And you know, I guess it's probably has to do with, like you said, really inspiring young women to do their thing, whatever that.
Yeah. So basically,
When did you start that, and like why? It's so cool.
thank you. So this year was our 11th year. So basically, after the Olympics, you know, it was my dream since I was a little girl to go to the Olympics and to represent Team USA, and obviously winning an Olympic gold medal was a cherry on top, but just more so like the experience that I had there, like being with my teammates, just it was just like one of the coolest experiences. And I remember coming back thinking like there was only 6 of us, you know, on that, and now it's like down to 5 and now 4, and it's like the teams get smaller. And so I'm like, all of these young girls who train just as many hours, you know, as I am, a lot of them are never going to be able to have that experience. And so what I wanted to create was an experience for them to feel special, and for them to feel like they were at their Olympics. And so that's kind of what I tried to create was a competition, you know, on a big stage. It's on TV, like the lights, the cameras, like all of that. And really, and some of them have gone on to become, like Gabby Douglas competed in the Nastia Liukin Cup. 4 years later, goes on to win an Olympic gold medal. So it's like, it's been really cool because it's been a stepping stone for so many of these young athletes.
Yeah, which I was going to say, it's probably like a really good also practice in the sense of like the lights, the camera, being interacting with people.
Yeah,
it's like a good training camp.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of why I wanted to create that. And so, and it's just like, I tried my hardest, like all weekend with them. I like have a brunch and a dinner for them. And I like ask that coaches and parents don't come because I just want it to be me and these girls, and just like really for them to actually get to know me beyond looking or following me on Instagram, you know, and just like, I'm one of you guys, you know? And so like this last year, they were trying to teach me how to learn a TikTok dance. And I'm like, I'm too old for this.
You got this. I'm like, we got this, Nastia.
Oh my God.
Whenever I get to meet you in person, we're doing one together.
Oh my God. So it was just really cool. Yeah. To like, I think sometimes it's important to like humanize yourself, right? And just talk and share like the real you. And I've not always been great at that. And I think it's still important to like keep a little bit of you to yourself. But I also think the world doesn't necessarily get to know the real you by looking at pretty pictures on Instagram. And that's what I like really want to share with these young girls and women is, you know, we all are the same. Like we're the same, and just like our jobs might be different. Yeah, exactly. And so
I always say that too, like to, you know, to just other girls and women that I come across is like, you know, that love for one another as females is, I think, really important because we're always, or we, you know, been taught to like kind of be competitive with one another.
Absolutely.
And you know, whatever that means, you know, in work or with boys or whatever. But
and being an athlete too, it's like my whole life was competing against my friends and teammates and girls, you know, so it's like, I'm like, so how do I now, my whole entire life, I was taught essentially to be competitive, like as an athlete, like you're supposed to be, right? How do I unteach myself this like just natural human instincts? Like, it's like almost like muscle memory, right? Like it's instilled in your mind and body to just be competitive. And so I'm so lucky that I'm surrounded like, and that's important too, right? To surround yourself with the people
1,000.
that make you want to be better, and vice versa, and supportive, and supportive of one another. And so I'm very lucky to have some amazing women in my life that we constantly just want to build each other up, right? As opposed to competing against each other. And it's so important.
For sure. And that was always kind of, um, to be honest, my inspiration for Revolve and building the community of influencers that
Mm-hmm.
we work with is to, uplift each other and really understand that, like, which is kind of also the inspiration for this pod, is like, behind the feed and behind the photos, like there's so much work, even a photo,
I know, but you're so right.
and being able to tell and share those stories, and also letting everyone know that, like, yeah, we're in this together. And like, the more we support each other, even if it's just like a simple like on a photo, or doing, podcasts or projects together or whatever, like, the more everyone benefits. um,
100%.
so hopefully, we can continue to that path where, individually and together.
Yes, yes.
So now, okay, Olympic gold medalist, you are, your cup has been around for 11 years, which I had no idea. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You started your foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and again, donated $100,000, which is insane. What's next? Like, what are you doing besides all the Pilates? That I DM'd you about yesterday. I'm like,
I know.
stop
Oh my
doing
God.
Pilates. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel
Uh,
like I'm like, and all the titles on your workouts is like ass, arms, abs, and I'm like, all the things that I needed to work on.
uh,
But yeah, so you're working out a ton. What?
I think more than like, okay, not more than like my Olympic days, obviously, but it's like I was always one. I'm very lucky to have like good genes, I guess, and like, um, but I was always kind of the person after I stopped, like I was just like, like maybe I'll work out today, maybe I won't, and then I'm finally like during COVID and just like not much else to do because normally I'm traveling all the time. I'm like, you know what? This is such a great time to like really just try to be the best version of myself, like just get like strong and whatever your other goals are. And so, yeah, so it's also just been like fun too. Like I never enjoyed working out. I thought I did it because I had to, like because it was part of my life and career, I guess. And so now I'm like refinding that like purpose and love for actually like working out and being active. But besides working out,
Well, actually,
uh,
really quick, for working out, I
yeah.
wanted to ask you, like, because it seems like you are trying a lot of new things,
Hmm.
like, how do you stay motivated? I mean, COVID does, like, I guess, like, since you're indoor, but like, generally speaking, like, how are you finding new workouts? Do you try a ton of new workouts, and kind of like, yeah, how do you stay motivated and keep going?
Yeah, I do. Well, so my trainer Kira, she is actually in New York. So we do FaceTime sessions, which has been like so great.
She has the craziest abs ever.
Oh my gosh, I know. And so we did an ab thing the other day, and then she texted me in the morning and was like, "Oh my God, my abs are sore. How are you?" I'm like, "If your abs are sore, how do you think I feel today?"
Oh my gosh.
But I'm like, "Wait, you still get sore?" And she's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Okay, then I feel like you're onto something." um, but I think it's important to try. So, and she like knows too. She's like, "I don't want you working out with me every single day. Like, do different things." So, I love Melissa Wood, like love her workouts. Like I think that is the perfect balance, especially for me where I did a sport that it was all your body weight. Like I never lifted weights, like never ever did. It was all just like gymnastic stuff. And so that's why I love like with Melissa, it's, 1 to 2 pounds, like that's max. I'm like, okay, I can handle that. Cause it was also scary for me when someone's like, oh, go get that like 25 pound,
Yeah, you're
I'm
like,
just like
what?
not used. I'm like, wait, I don't know if I can lift that. And they're like, oh, that's how much your dog weighs. Like you're good. um,
Totally.
and so, yeah, I just love, it was hard for me for a while working out and like being like calm and present and still. And so with Melissa, it's just like, she
Such a
talks you
good
through it,
flow.
walks you through it. Yeah, it's such a great flow. And then my friend Heather, she also lives in New York and owns New York Pilates. So like we do some lives, and
I've
but
seen
I mean,
that.
I think just like everybody else, like you're you're scrolling through social media and like, you know, so many people are doing workouts right now that it's just like, I like trying new things. Some things like are for me, some things aren't. And I think like it's the same for everyone. You have to figure out what works best for you and your body, but also like what you like and what you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, like, why do something if you don't really actually enjoy it, you know? Like, and I'm not saying like we all have to love working out. Like obviously we should be active just for like to be healthy, but I think there's something out there for everybody. Like for instance, I can't like do not run, hate running. Like nobody will ever convince me to go on a run. I'm like that. Like it is miserable to me. I'd rather just like go work out, like doing with like 3 hours, like instead of a mile run. Yeah. I'm like, I just don't run. So yeah, lots of working out, lots of trying new things. And then of course, like I'm not like perfect. There are days where I'm like, you know what?
I mean, I don't know, because seriously, like the bikini photos, it's kind of like, I'm like, oh my God,
this is literally just like me being like, I want to go to the beach. Once this is over, I can't wait to travel. I definitely.
Where do you want to go? I'm like, what's the first place?
Oh my gosh. Well, now that I live back in Dallas, I've never been to Tulum, which like I'm dying to go there. A few of my friends went actually last week, and I was jealous. I was like, okay, that will be one of the places that I go.
So I always say Tulum like is kind of, it's like a free people in real life.
Yes, I know. You're so right.
That's so cute and yeah, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
The food is
so I'm excited to go there. But honestly, I'll anywhere right now. I'm like, I miss getting on a plane, which is like, I never thought I would say that. I'm like, I will take an hour delay right now. Like if it's going somewhere fun, you know, I'm like, gosh, that was the last thing. Packing a suitcase, like,
the outfits stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what are you working on now? And like, what are you so excited about?
So basically I had this company, it was called Grander. And so that was the summit that we did in Boston a few summers ago. And so I'm currently working through a rebrand and a relaunch of that. And it's going to be called the Muse Collective.
Okay, I saw it on your gram and I was like, I need to ask her about this. So I'm glad that you're bringing it up and talking about it.
Yeah. So as I kind of mentioned, like my whole inspiration and kind of like purpose truly is to try to help this inspire, educate, motivate, whatever, the next generation of women to just be like the best versions of themselves. It's not necessarily me trying to create or teach the next person to become an Olympic gold medalist. Like that's not what life is about.
Can you do that for my daughter?
Yes. Oh my God. I need to send her some of my leotards.
Seriously.
And I think like we all have, you know, different goals and passions and whatever. And so it's like, whether you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, an entrepreneur, a stylist in fashion, whatever it is that you want to be. I think it's so important to try to, you know, inspire those people and connect like-minded individuals and women that, you know, have stories, right? And that are successful, but also like I said too, like, I feel like these like quote unquote failures or obstacles, like those aren't shared enough. You know, it's like everybody loves sharing the success, and that's great. Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but I also think like it's important for younger, you know, girls and women to know that, again, success doesn't happen overnight. Like, you're going to go through ups and downs, and you're going to want to give up, and you're going to want to quit, but how do we get through those moments? Like, what is it that motivates you? How did you go from, you know, here to here? So that's kind of like the mission, and you know, eventually looking forward to doing some more live events. Awesome. Probably won't happen for a second, but yeah, really just trying to create also a community, right? Similar to what you said, of just women supporting women. Like, I think it's so important, and it doesn't mean that you have to share a passion or a career or a background or, you know, political religious beliefs. Like, you don't have to necessarily share that to be able to support each other. So so yeah, so that's kind of the goal and the mission, and weird times, I guess, to be doing this, but I also kind of was like, if not now, when? Yeah. So
and I
yeah,
think
so I'm,
to everyone, or not everyone, but I know that, to the more I talk to people, the more everyone is looking for a home, a home base, because people right now are feeling a little bit displaced, whether
yep.
it's not seeing people at school on a daily basis, of course, or, even your family and, friends. Like, there's so many people that I haven't seen in months because of COVID. So I think
Yeah.
this is incredible and perfect timing that you started this, or
Thank
rebranding.
you. Yes, rebranding. Yes. So yeah, so I'm excited about that. Let's see what else. Like, obviously lucky to have, a platform that I'm able to work with so many incredible brands, and even through this tough time, like loyal partners that, we continue to try to help and make a difference. And so, started a leotard collab with this company called Ozone, which has been so fun.
So cool. It's
Yeah,
like all full circle. Like, you
it really
started doing this
is.
when you were 12, designing your own leotards, and now you have this incredible.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So that's been fun. And yeah, working on some like other cool collabs and projects for um probably next year that we're kind of just in the process of. But I feel like this has been such a strange time, but also such a great time, at least for me, to kind of pause and be like, okay, what are your goals? Like, what is it, like, kind of like just like reevaluate, like, and not that like I wasn't happy pre-COVID, really, like, but I was just, it was nonstop and it was go, go, go. And so it's like, you don't really have a second. You just are like kind of moving through the motions a little bit. And so this has been really good for me, at least, to like sit down, kind of like strategize and think and be in, like, put things into like order too, of like what's important to you.
Yeah.
What do you really want to spend your time and focus on? So yeah. So
Yeah.
just trying to take like something good out of this like
I mean,
weird situation,
yeah,
right?
it's weird and crazy. And there's, I'll leave it at that about what's going on right now, weird and crazy. But
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, I think that's what I've been able to do from, 5 months since being at home. I've never been home this much with my
Same.
daughter.
Yeah.
And so ever, like, since like she was born, I took, and I
Hmm.
don't say this proudly, but taking only like 6-7 weeks off from maternity leave is like the stupidest thing. I think now I laugh because I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah. What?
But,
Yeah.
but now being home with her, I'm like, I can never go back to this crazy schedule of, never seeing her. So yeah, as much as crazy as it is, the reset and regrouping with yourself, I think, has been incredible.
Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. Like, couldn't
Okay, so
agree
I'm
anymore.
like, I want to ask the same 3 questions on each pod, and I hopefully we sent those to you. So what is your superpower? I mean, you have, I guess if you've been listening for the last 40 minutes, like, she has a lot of superpowers.
Okay.
Like, what is yours?
So I would say like visualizing, and like I'm a big believer in like the law of attraction. So like visualizing things
That
like
you want.
into your life. Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
not like in a materialistic way by any means, more just like in a way like, so I read the book The Secret. I don't know if you've read it, but like right before the Olympics. And so I made like a vision board, and it had the Olympic gold medal on it. And I had never been to Paris. And so like I printed the Eiffel Tower out, and then like inspirational quotes and stuff. And the night before the Olympic all around final, I had this dream where I was in my hot pink leotard, matching pink scrunchie. And I went through every single event, and at the end of it, like I had won the gold medal in my dream, and I'm like walking down off the podium, and my dad, who is my coach, like I go and like give him a hug to like celebrate that, we had won. And I woke up and my arms were like out here, like I was like hugging him.
No.
And I was like, holy shit, that was a dream. Like it felt so real. And I'm like, no,
Wow.
like, and I looked like at my phone at the time and it was like 4 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God, like I have to go back to sleep for a few hours. And so for some reason, when I woke up a few hours later, it was like I knew it was going to happen. Like I was so
What?
calm. I was so calm. I was so like, I was like,
That's
oh,
you're
all you have to
freaking
do.
me out. I'm like, what else do you
I,
see in your
I
dream?
I know it's like it's the craziest thing. Like, and I told nobody because I like didn't really want to jinx it, obviously.
For sure.
And then I told my dad after, and he's like, "Well, you could have told me because I've been freaking out all day." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I just like I was not telling anybody."
Wow. So you
Yeah.
literally
So
visualized winning a gold medal.
like down to little things. So like on my vault in my dream, I stuck my landing, and vault has I'm just like never been very strong and powerful. And so vault was always my worst event. And so when I stuck my vault in my dream, I'm like, of course, it's like I knew it was a dream because I'm like, that never happens. And so like 12 hours later, however many hours later, in the warm-ups, I did my warm-up and my dad goes, that was great. Do the exact same thing, but try to stick your landing. And I laughed. Like I literally laughed. And he was like, why are you laughing? This is the, like you have to be focused and serious. And I was just, because I knew, like I knew that was what was going to happen. And so I was like so confident and calm. I went, stuck my landing, literally like as I had in my literally as I did in my dream. And as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, like you're not crazy. Like this is actually what's happening. Like you are now living out like your dream.
Your literal
And
dream the night before.
literally. And I've never like I never really dreamed about competitions too much, which is weird, but like I just didn't. So it was even more weird that like it happened on the just happened to be the most important competition of my life. And yeah, every single like routine that I did, it was just like I knew what was going to happen, like down to like how I landed every dismount. So yeah, so that was kind of like crazy, but I just believe in like visualizing and like manifesting like kind of what you want in your life. So I don't know if that's a superpower or not, but
I mean, listen, it's a superpower.
It helped me win the gold medal. So
for sure. And you're continuing to win after that. So I feel like that's definitely a superpower. Okay, next question is, what is the shit that no one told you? Could be about anything that you wish somebody just did.
I think like, and it's not that like no one told me this or like, because my parents did, I think, an unbelievable job at raising me and teaching me so many things. And they always said like, they were like, at the end of the day, we don't care, you know, what your achievements are in gymnastics. So they're Olympic and world champion gymnast also. So as the only child, I think a lot of people were like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, don't you feel like you have to like live up to those expectations? I'm like, not really. Like, I just think it's really cool that I can learn from them. Yeah. And so they always just said like, for us, it's really important for you to have a good heart and like be a good person. Like, it's not about winning anything. So this, like, it's not that they didn't teach me this, but like I said, like in my mind, I always thought that like people would maybe love me more, support me more if I won and if I was the best. So I think for so long, I let a success or an achievement or something or feel like it defined me. And the hardest thing about that was like, you know, we competed like all the time. So like, I felt like I was every single time I went out there to compete, like once a month or every other month or whatever, it was like, okay, like you're being like starting from scratch again. Yeah. So it's like putting it in like perspective of like, think every time that you're going, or not you, or like anybody going into like a meeting or you have a presentation and it's like your reputation or like your worth in your mind, your worth is on the line, right? Like of how you do.
That's
and
too
so
much pressure.
it was so much pressure. It was exhausting. So anyway, so I feel like that's like, I wish I would have learned that a little bit earlier, maybe in life of just, and again, I did that to myself, right? It wasn't like someone told me that or anything, but I wish like I just knew that people are still going to love you, even if you fall on your face.
I love that. That's such a I'll take that with me for sure. Cause I
I'm
still,
sure you put pressure on yourself as
oh my
well.
gosh, like so beyond. I complete
Yeah.
again, it's insane. And
Yeah.
then I guess my last question for you is the theme song to your life, whether, you know, obviously your past experiences or even just like right now and everything that, you know, you're
Yeah.
through.
So, this song by Sia, it's kind of like a little older, but it's called Elastic Heart.
Ooh, I have
And
to listen to it.
it's really, the piano version is even better. But I feel like I struggle sometimes with like being like so open and letting so many people into my life and then just like putting these walls, right? And so it's basically about like having thick skin, but also like an elastic heart and like opening up, but yet still having like breaking down walls, but then still like having like a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know what, like listening to like the words of it, like it's not as like pump up music
Oh,
maybe that like some people would say. It's a little emotional,
oh, it's
but I feel
beautiful.
like it kind of like for me, and it's like the real me too, like beyond just like the Instagram like pictures. I feel like the people that truly like know me, like the people in my life, like the people in my very close circle, could speak on that, you know, and like could like say like the quality, and I'm sure for you too, like right, the family, your family and like your close friends like know the real you, and like how incredible your heart is and how amazing of a mom and a wife and everything that you are, but not everybody sees that. And it's like, and I realized that at first I like really wanted people to know like everything about me and the real me, but I'm like, you know, it's okay to just
Yeah,
like have a little bit of that like to your circle and to yourself. So
for
yeah.
sure. And again, even though I've never met you in real life, of course, like this is the first time we're speaking as well. Like you know, you come off like that on your social,
Oh,
that you're like a good person and like with
no,
everything
thank
that you're
you.
doing. And I know that through social media, it is like just like the highlight reel, but I think your highlight reel is pretty freaking cool.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much for this time and for doing this with me. I super duper appreciate your time.